for me personally, it was really helpful to have a couple of check-ins throughout the day because things were changing so quickly. And then you get overwhelmed of like, well, everything changed. I need to figure out how to reprioritize everything.
Initiating becoming a hiring machine sequence in 3, 2, 1.
Hey everyone, it's Sam Keenley, and welcome to Becoming a Hiring Machine. This is the show dedicated to fixing recruitment by going beyond saying what needs to change and instead teaches you how to make that change. Today, we have yet another amazing Tactical Tuesday ahead of us, but before we get into that, I'd just like to tell you a little bit about the show. Essentially, we have shows within the show. Some days we have interviews with industry thought leaders and others who are shaking up the space, and they're going to teach you how to do something that they do that's helped them be successful in their roles or with their companies. Other days we cover trending topics, items that recruiters are talking about or will be very soon, and what those mean for them. Every Tuesday like today, we drop a Tactical Tuesday episode where we go deep on how to do something that you're going to be able to use to start driving better results immediately in your day-to-day. Every now and then we open it up for Q&A. Listeners can drop in questions that they'd like to hear us take on, so send those over to us at podcast@loxo.co. And occasionally you'll hear a mic drop episode where Matt drops by and he shares something that he's been thinking about within the recruitment space and wants to share with the group. For today's Tactical Tuesday, surprise, surprise, we have Vivien joining us yet again as our resident expert living at the intersection of recruitment and all things ChatGPT. And today we're going to go a little bit deeper as a part 2 on last week's best practices episode to help you stay organized. More specifically, how do you outsource some of your daily admin tasks over to ChatGPT and also have it help project manage you in order to achieve your goals and essentially use it as your virtual assistant? So on that note, let's jump into it with Vivien.
Sounds good. Thank you, Sam. So as a recruiter, you typically juggle a million different balls, and trying to stay on top of everything and remember everything can be quite difficult. And then you have so many different tools on kind of managing all of your notes, all of your tasks. Sometimes you just write something down. Another time you put it in a random notepad on your phone. Then you have something set up as a reminder in your ATS, and all of a sudden you're completely scattered and have everything in a million different places and you can't find it. So one way to kind of centralize everything a little bit more is to have ChatGPT become your virtual assistant. As always, we introduce ourselves as being an agency recruiter to ChatGPT and saying, hey, I would like for you to be my virtual assistant. And then I think this is actually the $1 million question. What questions do you have for me to make this a successful partnership? And this is where ChatGPT then says, I'm happy to be your assistant, of course, because why wouldn't it be? And then it dives into what is the scope of work? What specific tasks do you need assistance with? What about information access? What are some of the platforms? I will let you, essentially ChatGPT will let you know whether it has access to any of these softwares. In this case, it will say, I probably don't. But it can suggest some best practices based on what it knows. What's the preferred communication style? Do you prefer summarized bullet points? Do you want more detailed explanations? Things like that. What's the criteria for evaluating candidates? Do you have any specific processes and protocols that I need to keep in mind? How do you handle information in a database? Feedback mechanism, essentially saying, is ChatGPT doing this right? Is it doing wrong? All that kind of stuff. What about urgency and prioritization? How do you want me to prioritize things? How do I know what's important? What about confidentiality? And this is where ChatGPT kindly actually says, while I respect user privacy and don't store personal conversations, do let me know if there are any specific ways you'd like sensitive information to be handled or discussed. So for example, if you're working on a confidential search and maybe you talk this over with a hiring company and they say, you know what, you can put us into ChatGPT. Just don't tell candidates right off the bat that we are hiring for this position. You can let ChatGPT know it will work with you on that. Updates and learning, if there are any trends in the recruitment industry, such as this podcast. What would you like to implement? What would you like to try? Let me know. We can figure something out. It does say, hey, my last training is from 2021, but I'm always ready to learn new information that you provide, as well as integration with other tools and the frequency of check-ins. So I went ahead and kind of thought back to my recruiting days and my priorities back in the day and came up with a couple of the scenarios that I typically would have been working with. Obviously, if it was all up to me and I had Vivien Maron recruiting agency, I would be using Loxo. I would be using Gmail for email communications. I prefer summarized bullet points. Something that I actually do is sometimes I just take everything that is in my brain, type it up completely incoherently and chaotically, and ChatGPT figures out how to distill it into bullet points, and then kind of organize my thoughts, which is absolutely amazing. Then next up, in terms of criteria, this is where I said I will probably be evaluating the candidates, but if I need help with something, I'll let you know. Processes and protocols. Back in my recruiting days, this really depended on the client. So I kind of said, I'll let you know as we go. Database handling. I typically write bullet points anytime that I added something into the database. Feedback mechanism. Whenever I write emails, I typically ask ChatGPT, hey, this is what's going on. Please write an email. Over time, it starts to learn my tone, kind of how I write things, how my brain processes and thinks about things. And then what really helped specify the specific tone and for ChatGPT to really learn it, I always ended up giving it feedback and responded with, this is the email that I ended up sending. So it took a couple of weeks, but I learned that I send my emails with sunny regards. And then urgency and prioritization. I said the motto in recruiting is we're closest to the money. So I would like your help with prioritizing based on working closest to the money. I have XYZ financial goal. This is my base salary. This is how the commission structure is built out. And I would like your help figuring out what do I need to do to get these searches across the finish line to get that money. And then confidentiality. Again, I'll let you know as we go. Updates and learning also will let you know. And the frequency with check-ins. What I would actually recommend is start your day with ChatGPT, review your daily tasks, priorities, check in again on midday, giving it updates. Hey, this is what happened in the last couple of hours. Something has changed. A bomb blew up in our face, whatever it may be. And then at the end of the day, give it a recap to figure out a to-do list for tomorrow. So that way you can actually close out the workday because you have the to-do list for tomorrow. It doesn't have to hover in your brain. And this is where essentially it summarized everything that we just kind of talked about in nice bullet points again. And once you kind of have that, so for example, I really like the daily check-ins in the morning, share the primary tasks and objectives for the day, and I can help you prioritize and structure them. Midday, update me on the progress and any changes. I can offer insights and adjust priorities. And end of the day, recap and share some updates on how searches are going. And here we can plan the next day based on what happened. And then additional services. ChatGPT suggests they can do data analysis, interview question suggestions, market research, insights into hiring trends, all of that kind of stuff. And essentially, this is where you can get started. So I said, well, what information do you need from me to get started? For example, do you need what commissions I've made so far? Because currently, as of this recording, we're almost halfway through September. So obviously, we would be hopefully have made some placements this year. What searches I have on my desk, where they're at, are they in the sourcing stage, interviewing stage, offer stage, are they on hold, whatever it may be, to kind of give it an idea. And this is where it said, okay, base earning is you have 30,000. How many commissions have you earned to date? What are your active searches? For example, role position, expected salary range, search stage, any considerations, challenges, number of potential candidates that you have in the pipeline. So that was really smart. Commission structure, any important dates or deadlines to be aware of. For example, if you are on a quarterly structure in terms of placements, you can let ChatGPT know. It will work with you. If it's on a monthly, that will have a slightly different priority. If your fiscal year, commission year, if you have like specific targets that you need to reach as July 1st through June 30th, then you can let it know. It will kind of work with that. Any daily routines or schedules that you typically have, like for example, team meetings, do you have them in the morning? Do you have another one midday, whatever it may be? What are some of your challenges and pain points? Anything that you've been procrastinating on because you're just lost? And any preferences of how you like to work and things like that. And once you answer all of that, this will be an ongoing conversation that you always revisit. And in a few instances, ChatGPT gave me a warm welcome of like, oh, welcome back. How can I assist you today? Which was really cute and made my morning. And that's about it. It's an ongoing conversation. It will be different for everybody, but this is kind of how I set it up to start with.
I love that. Yeah. And as you say, there's so many different rabbit holes you could go down from here, different threads you can pull. So this conversation is definitely going to change with people depending on what they put in from here. But one thing that I really do like about it is when you discuss your goals and everything in there, especially when you say, here's what I want to be, here's where I'm at currently, here's the gap. I'd be curious, the data geek side of me, to wonder like if it starts to pick up on things like, well, for every 300 candidates you source, I know that you're going to get one placement, or you're a really strong sourcer. For every 50 people that you source, you're going to make one placement. So more just the data side of me is curious to see like how much, it does begin to learn about you and then can then start to train itself essentially on like how to coach you more effectively. When it gets into prioritizing time, it's like, hey, I noticed you only spent about 30 minutes on sourcing. What if we spent an hour and a half on this day? I think that's going to help boost hitting your goal sooner. Or, you're going to be out for Thanksgiving for 2 weeks. We need to make up for that this week. Here's a couple recommendations on how that might happen. I might be getting ahead of AI. I might not. I have no idea, but I'd be curious, like what all it could possibly pick up on depending on the infinite number of variables that you could put into it from here.
Yeah, definitely. Something that was really helpful is figuring out time blocks. So every day I kind of was like, okay, what do you recommend? Like my target is I need to make 30 calls a day or whatever it may be to say, okay, well, let's figure that out. And then, well, what position am I calling for? Well, in that case, have you sourced for this? So that way you can kind of prioritize things. You can also let it know like, hey, from kind of data that I have available from like previous searches before we started working together, ChatGPT, I had a tendency that if I had 5 candidates that interviewed, one of them would get an offer on average. And for me to have 5 candidates interviewing, I needed to submit anywhere from 10 to 15 people for consideration, something like that. Or you can say, you know what, something that I'm really bad at is it takes me forever to source and find that initial candidate. It takes me like, let's say 2 weeks to find that first candidate to send over. I would love to shorten that to 1 week. How can you help me do that? So as you're kind of collecting these KPIs, which some ATSs are actually able to provide you that feedback of like, this is how many candidates you need to send over for interviews, like these are your ratios and things like that. You can then let it know and be like, you know what, I actually need to kind of pump up my call volume, but I need to find people to call. So if I need to call 30 people every single day, how many people do I need to source and reach out? So if I reach out to 200 people, I get about 50 responses, which is good. So then how are we going to find these 200 people? So you can play around with data and then kind of based on that, say, suggest some time blocks for me. And then you can give it feedback and say, you know what, I did these 30 calls and a lot of people ended up picking up. I actually ended up needing like 2 hours to complete this. So as you give it data, it will actually end up helping you. But it can only do as much as the data that you put in. So if you want to keep it really simple, which is typically the case for recruiters, because there's so many things going on between account management and responding to candidates and giving updates and things like that, ChatGPT can also become an overwhelming kind of additional task to deal with. And this is more meant to help you take the load off, so to speak, and kind of help you become better. But then again, having these numbers would be incredibly helpful because then if you're starting to notice a trend, you can then say, you know what, you already have the numbers for this job. Let's focus on this one and wait until the hiring manager responds. Or if it says, you know what, you've only submitted 5 people, you still haven't heard back from the hiring manager, let's get a couple more people submitted and maybe then we'll get an answer. Or then maybe from an earlier conversation 2 months ago, ChatGPT might say, you know what, remember last time that hiring manager ghosted you too, maybe let's not work on this one and kind of move along. So ChatGPT has a really good memory, which is really good for like record keeping purposes.
Yeah. And I like that you called out specifically, don't let it become overwhelming to you. Don't feel like you have to have it do everything, especially like that's where mine went to. I was like, this sounds like it's going to be a job like project managing my project management VA type thing to help. So you can also keep it simple. Like just have it help with the emails, just have it help with one individual thing with the pacing. You don't have to do all of this. Again, these are the countless number of things that we say like you can use it to help with. It really just depends on, what do you enjoy doing? What do you want to outsource? And how do you find that balance so you can do what you do best in order to achieve what you want your day to look like?
Yeah. And the initial setup of all of this is going to take a little bit more time because you're just kind of getting acquainted. So even if you were to hire a virtual assistant somewhere, they wouldn't be able to just hit the ground running. They need to get a little bit of background info. And this is exactly what it would look like. But it might be over Zoom. It might be conversational, things like that. And here you just set it up once. It's either free or you do the paid version, which is like $20 a month for a virtual VA that can actually help you keep track of things. Yeah. And for me personally, it was really helpful to have a couple of check-ins throughout the day because things were changing so quickly. And then you get overwhelmed of like, well, everything changed. I need to figure out how to reprioritize everything, just quickly brain dumping everything into ChatGPT. And then ChatGPT figured it out on my behalf so that I had more brain power left towards the things that actually mattered in recruiting, like screening candidates, paying attention, writing everything down as I'm kind of talking to them. Because as humans, there's only so much brain juice that we have every single day. And if it's spent towards administrative tasks of figuring out your priorities, then you're going to kind of get discouraged with recruiting, because it's going to be like, well, I'm so sucked into the administrative part of it when I really just want to talk to people and kind of get them through the hiring process. So this can kind of help you just brain down, sometimes even vent and be like, and it's all confidential. So
yeah, so I love it. Well, hopefully this is helpful for individuals looking to get a little bit of their time back or figure out how to juggle the million things that they've got going in the air. So as always, thank you for joining. Appreciate you sharing this knowledge with us, for sharing the templates with us. And I hope that some people are able to get some help out of this and start incorporating it into their day-to-day moving forward. So everyone, that is yet another Tactical Tuesday with Vivien. Until next time.
bye, everyone.